Hello, church. How is everybody? Uh, and we're going to do a little something different this week with John and Debbie. We're going to do a devotion, each one of us, and then uh, send it out to you. Something that's near and dear to my heart here in the last few months. Julie found a devotion in her book that she'd like to read for you.
1 Corinthians 9:16. Yet when I preach the gospel, I cannot boast, for I am compelled to preach. Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel. What is an evangelist? An evangelist is a person with a special gift and a special calling from the Holy Spirit to announce the good news of the gospel. It is a gift of God that cannot be manufactured or faked. It is also a calling from God. Understanding this will help protect us from two dangerous temptations. First, this understanding will protect us from pride because we know that whatever gift we have and whatever opportunities may open up to us are from God. We cannot take any credit or glory for ourselves. And second, this understanding will save us from discouragement and the temptation to give up because we know our calling is not from man but from God. Some are called to be evangelists, but every Christian is called to the work of evangelism. For every Christian is called to tell others about Christ and what he has done for them. With whom will you share the good news of Christ today?
As a member of Open Door Fellowship, all of us should know that our mission statement is to make more and better disciples of Jesus Christ. And so it's been impressed on me the last few months that I don't do a very good job of that. I have a lot of non-Christian friends, and I have a lot of people that I rub shoulders with every day. And I need to be more intentional about telling them about Jesus Christ and what He's done for me. And one of the easiest ways is just to, especially this time, is to just start a conversation about what we're thankful for and what we find. We can ask that person, what do they, what's been going on really, what's been going well in your life and what's not been going so well, and start a conversation, and you can really get it directed toward Jesus Christ. And I just want to encourage each one of us again, as that devotion says, that it's not up to us, it's up to God. We have to take the step. We have to see where the opportunities are, and then we have to take those opportunities. And it really shouldn't be difficult. It is for me, but I know it shouldn't be, because we have the power of the Holy Spirit in us, and if we just use it. So I encourage you today, tomorrow, in the coming weeks, use the Holy Spirit inside you and look for opportunities to share Jesus Christ with others. Bless you, church. Love you. See you soon.
All right, church, I'm going to try to keep this short. The Joneses had about 3 minutes before us and talked about evangelism, and I'm just going to expound on that. Debbie and I are, and they were talking about, obviously, if you're called to be an evangelist, but even if you're not, you're to be an evangelist. Yeah, I just taped this and forgot to turn the microphone on, and Debbie told me it was going way too long, so let's keep it short. 1 Peter 3:15. I'm just going to go ahead and read it to you. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. And so I met a gentleman, Ken Ham, several years ago, and it's someone that has really changed my life, the way I think about my faith. Certainly the way I think about the Old Testament, because I always thought the Old Testament was kind of like, great stories, but what's the real, what's really there that can benefit a believer? And he really showed me through apologetics that that everything in the Old Testament points towards the New Testament. Everything, whether it's from the prophets, from the global flood, from all the stories we hear, all about who begat who. Everything takes us from Adam right to Christ, and it's very important not to ignore that. But it's also one of the things that most non-Christians and people that are on the fence have problems with. They have problems with the stories that we've told our kids or whatever. The flood, it's a great story, but did it really happen? So I'm just going to give you a couple questions that Debbie's going to ask as if she's someone that doesn't really necessarily know whether she believes it or not, and I'm going to do my best to answer it as if I would someone that hopefully knows something. All right, Deborah.
Okay, one of my personal favorite questions, because I always wondered this when I was a kid, is if dinosaurs really existed.
Yes, they did exist. I mean, we can't deny the evidence they left behind. It's just, the next question would always lead into what?
If dinosaurs and people were together on the earth at the same time, why didn't people be threatened or get eaten by them like the movies say?
Right, and that leads into, someone would ask that because, most people would say that dinosaurs lived millions and millions of years before humans did, which, that's a tough one to try to believe based on what we find in some of our carbon dating problems and some other things. But one of the things we look at is Genesis 1:29 and 30, which says that all creatures were vegetarians, which includes humans. So there was no competition for food. Animals, humans could walk together because they didn't feel threatened, because they knew they were going to get attacked because they looked like a meal, which is completely different than the world we live in today. After the flood, Genesis 9:3 says that God commanded us, after obviously there wasn't a lot of green and plants in life after the flood. We know that the rain was 40 days and 40 nights, but we also know that the flood lasted a long time, well over a year probably, when they were in the ark. So not a lot of green plants when things began to dry up. So they were allowed to eat. It says, I'm just going to read Genesis 9:3. Everything that lives and moves about you will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. So at that point, they were able to eat meat. There's a ton of these. Ken and Answers in Genesis do a great job, whether it's talking about the Grand Canyon, millions of years, all kinds of things that really show that the Bible is, basically confirms science, and science confirms the Bible. The last thing I'll do before we sign off is just as it said, do this with gentleness and respect. Don't argue, don't call names. I've seen some of Ken's posts where people they're just so mean, whether they agree with him or not. Instead of having a debate or someone that can actually bring, some information to the table, all they do is just name call, and we're not called to even come close to that. We should do things with respect and gentleness, as 1 Peter 3 says. The last thing here is, I feel like it takes way more blind faith to believe in an evolutionary world than a creation world. I believe that our God created us from an intelligent design standpoint. If you just look at our bodies and look at our Earth, it's like it's harder to believe that just came from a single cell and a big bang than from someone that created it from an intelligent design. So I did way better on time there, guys. Sorry if this was still a little bit long, but good night. See ya.